In this video, I'll give you 10 things you should avoid doing in a zero build fight. After watching this, I'm convinced that you will fix at least 3 of these pointers to win more fights. We'll start with the most obvious ones and work our way to the least evident. Number 1. Being too stationary or aiming down sight for too long. In the heat of the moment, it's tempting to hunker down and aim down sights for that perfect shot. But remember, standing still makes you an easy target. Keep moving, stay unpredictable. Change positions frequently to force your opponent to keep readjusting their aim. The issue with ADS is that once you're hitting your target, it seems counterintuitive to stop shooting and reposition yourself. However, doing this too much makes you vulnerable as your enemy will lock onto you more easily. You're basically giving them a golden opportunity to change the tide of the fight. Here's a comparison between someone who aims down sight for a long period of time on the left versus someone who keeps repositioning themselves. We can all agree the one more likely to be sent back to the lobby is the left player. So do me a favor and start implementing this simple trick. Number 2. Exposing your body for too long or keeping your head still. In the same fashion as the previous tip, peeking for too long exposes you to enemy fire and, more drastically, headshot snipes. Keep those peek times short. Shoot for no more than 3 seconds at a time and then take cover. If there's no cover, then sprint, jump, or slide. Anything that makes you a hard target to hit. This applies mostly to long-range engagements with your sniper and assault rifle. It can be challenging to do this in close-quarter shotgun battles where both players simply need to down the other one as quickly as possible. Being aware of natural cover before fighting is also crucial because you can already start thinking about shooting, moving behind cover, and repeating the process. On the left, you have a clear example of what not to do while peeking, and on the right, you see a player peeking in quick short bursts, making them more likely to stay alive for longer. Number 3. Ignoring hip firing, especially with your shotgun. You don't have to aim down sight all the time. If you do, you'll most likely end up back in the lobby quickly. Again, we said earlier that ADS for too long makes you very vulnerable, and it's even more the case with a shotgun because these fights are very close. You need to hip fire with every weapon except your sniper, of course. When you are out of a second weapon to switch to after using your shotgun, don't overlook your AR. It can be very accurate at very close range when hip firing. This season, we have a perfect case with the Gatekeeper shotgun, which contains only 3 shells by default. You absolutely need another weapon to switch to after these first 3 shots. Ideally, you want an SMG or a pistol, and in the heat of battle, it's very likely you won't have time to fully ADS. It's even more likely that you'll be jumping while shooting at that point. So again, using hip fire is vital. If you take a close look at how pros and streamers use their shotgun, it's with hip fire 95% of the time, and this is not even debatable. Number 4. Ignoring sliding and jumping. If you haven't started experiencing sliding, sprinting, and jumping during fights in zero build, this is your reminder to start right now. Fortnite's movement mechanics are your best friends. Use them. Sliding can help you a lot because from certain angles, it actually reduces your hitbox zone. Indeed, if you compare someone standing still versus a sliding opponent, the portion of the target that is exposed is smaller. Jumping makes you harder to hit. By doing so, you're forcing your opponent to track you with their aim, which can be a challenge by itself. Also, if you start to shoot, then sprint quickly to another spot for 1-2 seconds and repeat this process. You'll definitely notice your enemies aren't landing all their shots on you. Incorporate these into your combat flow for maximum evasiveness. While the first 4 tips were focused mostly on your movement mechanics and being aware of what parts of your body can be exposed or not, the next ones will be more centered around your decision making and play style. If at least one of the tips was helpful for you so far, make sure to click on the like button. Also, I'll gift a 1-month membership to one viewer if this video reaches 200 likes. Number 5. Relying on one weapon only. I see too many zero build players trying to kill an enemy by just using one weapon. For example, they get a first snipe, then they keep trying to get the kill while only using their sniper. This is a big mistake. Remember that in zero build, we have 250 total HP, plus because the overshield does recharge, it's not rare to actually down an enemy for more than 250 damage. Variety is key. One weapon might be great, but what if it runs out of ammo and doesn't suit the situation? Familiarize yourself with a diverse loadout to adapt to various combat scenarios and maintain versatility throughout the fight. Typically, you will have to use at least 2 weapons during a fight and sometimes 3. For example, a classic elimination would be starting with your sniper, then switching to your AR, and then finishing with a shotgun or SMG. But don't overdo it though. If you carry 4 weapons, then one of these is absolutely not gonna be used enough. In a zero build format, 3 weapons in your inventory is more than enough. Then reserve the last 2 slots for mobility and healing items. Number 6. Be the second one shooting or be the first one taking damage. Timing is everything. Don't let your opponents dictate the pace of the fight. Be the one to make the first move. Catch them off guard. Use distractions to initiate combat on your terms, gaining the upper hand from the start. This is probably the most most useful tip for fighting in zero build. It's fair to assume that if you're the first one to take damage, then your odds of winning the fight decrease a lot. If you think this scenario happens too often to you, then you'll need to have better awareness of your surroundings. Take a few moments to stop and look around you if you can spot any enemies at a distance. Also, while rotating in the open, make sure to observe what's going on your left, in front, and on your right. From time to time, looking behind your back can surprisingly be very effective to spot any sneaking enemy following you. I see too many players having tunnel vision and only focusing what's in front of them. Going to high ground or using launch pads to have the biggest field of view is also another great way to spot enemies first and then rushing them. Number 7. Not disengaging when you should. If you've been on the receiving end too much, just like we mentioned in the previous tip, then you should definitely know when to disengage fights as soon as you can. Your health is precious. Prioritize survival over unnecessary heroics, knowing when to retreat and recover to prolong your longevity in the match. This is especially true if the damage you took was significant quickly, because this is probably a sign that your opponent is skilled. There's a simple rule of thumb to know about in zero build. The more skilled your enemy is, the faster he will eliminate you. But don't be too desperate, because there is one item in the game that absolutely shines for quick escapes and disengagement. Yes, I'm talking about shockwaves. There's no item that comes close to their effectiveness for this, and I know for a fact I saved my life in zero build countless times by using these. Not only do they make you leave the area quickly and far away, but they also make you pretty hard to hit while traveling in the air. Sure, some enemies might land a few shots on you, but generally speaking, it's very rare someone will actually kill you in that scenario. If you don't have shockwaves in your inventory, then wings is plan B, but let's be honest, how many times did you get killed while flying in the air with these? I think better options would be bunkers or shield bubbles. They are a quick way to create cover, but compared to shockwaves, they won't make you escape the area quickly. Number 8. Being too conservative. It's not a problem itself to play conservatively. It's one way to stay alive longer because you engage in fewer fights. But what if I told you it can also hurt you too? Indeed, it doesn't put you in enough intense gunfights and then makes you practice these less. Plus, it's one of the best ways to be the first one taking damage in battles, which was discussed in depth in number 6. At some point, you'll need to get your hands dirty and try some fancy plays by pushing opponents. Earlier, we said how shockwaves were so effective at escaping fights, but they're also the best at pushing or pursuing opponents. What I typically do is that I'm way more aggressive in public matches, knowing the skill level is lower than when I play ranked matches. If I die in public games, then there is no real consequence. I won't lose any ranked points. I think you should start playing more aggressively in pubs, because let me tell you that you'll face off against very aggressive players in ranked matches anyway. Fortnite rewards aggression. Don't be afraid to push your advantage. Play smart, but don't hesitate to take calculated risks. Recognize when the opportunity presents itself to capitalize on enemy mistakes and assert dominance in the engagement. Number 9. Drinking shields or reloading without being behind cover. I think this is mostly a beginner's mistake, but it can be easily avoided. Think of it this way. When reloading or drinking shields, you're essentially sacrificing your ability to shoot at your target for a few seconds. So why leave your body exposed while doing so? Don't give your enemy a golden opportunity to retaliate or even down you very quickly. Start training yourself by spotting nearby cover, then start to shoot, and as soon as you need to reload or heal up, then go straight behind this cover. The advantage of doing this is also because your enemy will have to guess where you are, and if he decides to push, you will have a great chance to land a few shots on him before he does anything. With the addition of shield bubble juniors, it's a great way to create cover if you are completely in the open. If you want the absolute best and safest way to do this, then throwing a bunker down will give you protection from all possible angles, assuming you get inside it. Number 10. Peek from different angles. Predictability is your enemy. Mix up your peak spots to keep your opponents guessing and off balance. Sometimes, without even realizing it, we take quick peeks at the exact same spot because we're trying to be the next one to land shots on the opponent. By doing so, we forget that we're basically giving information to the enemy that we will keep using the spot. If this player has a sniper in their inventory, then don't be surprised if you get headshot sniped. Utilize the environment to your advantage, using different angles and heights to maintain unpredictability and catch your opponents off guard. It can be as simple as starting with the right side peek, which is the most common way to peek by the way, and then switching to a left side peek. Another way to do so would be to use elevated terrain while being on the high ground. For example, you start from angle number 1, then you crouch walk to another position while still maintaining visual on your target. After this, you peek from the new angle, and if you're lucky, the enemy won't even expect it, so you could suddenly shift the odds in your favor. If you've made it this far in the video, please comment on how many of these 10 things you were guilty of doing. I've also created a very similar video video focusing on 20 tips to increase your zero build skill level, and you can watch it right now by simply clicking on it. See you there.